Welcome back, everybody, to the Hoops HD's
Woohoo!
continuing 2021-22 preseason coverage. This is our Pac-12 preview podcast. Just for information's sake, we're recording this here on Wednesday, October 20th. My name is Chad Sherwood. To my sides, we have David Griggs and John Titel. Below me from Bracketeer.org, Rocket Miller.
Rocketeer.org. We got Bracket Miller.
Let's just start over again. Next thing, we got Matt Zukowski as well. So we do have a couple Pac-12 experts in the house for this Pac-12 podcast. John, an Arizona alum, Rocco, Washington guy. We're going to be going over all 12 members of the Pac-12 in this show. We are going to be taking a look at who each of us picks will be making the NCAA tournament field, who's going to win the conference. And well, I guess we will start there with who's going to win the conference because Matt, let me start with you here. I think who's going to win the conference, at least on paper, looks pretty easy to me because they were in the Final Four last year and brought everybody back.
UCLA should be the favorite. I think it's not quite, say, the Big East preview did Monday. I don't think it's quite as big a gap from 1 to 2 because Oregon's got a sneaky little roster that we'll get to, but UCLA should be the favorite. Not only basically returning everyone, you're bringing back one of the top big men transfers, Miles Johnson, unfortunately, from your Rutgers, Chad, and then enrolling a top 10 McDonald's All-American wing and give him a little size and basically replace what you had for most of the year with Chris Smith, but give him that for the full year with probably maybe even better version given his rankings and hype.
Yeah, I guess we're going to be talking a little bit about Rutgers at the top of the conference here, but Rocco, let me ask you as well here, this UCLA team, how good is this? Is this a team that can win it all this year?
I think so. And it's weird because, the way Mick Cronin teams and seasons go, I don't think it's going to be a smooth ride, even though this roster is just unbelievable, especially when you factor in Miles Johnson now. And Peyton Watson, by the way, 5-star McDonald's player that's going to get his. But yeah, I think the way Mick manages the players and the players, I was at Pac-12 Media Day last week, and one thing he was talking about was how the starting point this year with everybody back is so much higher than last year or, even any of his Cincinnati teams. Just the knowledge and the continuity. Tiger Campbell, I think, is one of the most undervalued player, certainly in the Pac-12, but probably nationally. Just never makes mistakes. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's always, getting the ball in the hands of guys like Juzang and Jaquez, and you got Cody Riley and Miles Johnson now going to be able to mix and match those guys with Jules Bernard. I mean, this team is absolutely loaded. Again, I don't think they'll have a perfect season, but I think by the time we get to March, I definitely would not want to play them.
The one thing I'm interested in too is, are they going to play at a faster pace than Cronin has historically, given the depth they have and the athleticism that they have?
Probably not.
Cronin doesn't change the way he plays, I don't think.
Yeah.
Defensive rebounding, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I really like Mick Cronin as a coach. I always have, even really since his Murray State days. I think he did really well at Cincinnati, and it always sort of but because they had so many early exits from the NCAA tournament, I don't think people realized how good those teams consistently were, at least in November, December, January, February, and the first week of March. Last year, they really struggled. They barely got selected. And then once they were there, it was just sort of the inverse of what we normally saw out of some of those teams in Cincinnati that would get ranked into the single digits, but then not get beyond the round of 32. But if your criticism of Mick Cronin is that he can't win in the tournament, I think that is out the window after last year. Mm-hmm. This is a really good UCLA team. I think they could go back to the Final Four.
And a quick point on that, David. The thing that I was realizing, you look through the teams that they beat in the tournament, not only the Michigan State first 4 game, but they blew out BYU, who was awesome all year. They took Alabama and beat them. Alabama was one of our favorite teams going into the tournament. Yet Michigan, who was just almost flawless throughout the year, and UCLA beat them. And then it took a half-court shot to lose to Gonzaga. I mean, they were playing at a level that warrants this type of preseason hype, I think. in
Yeah,
that tournament.
God, that Gonzaga game was in. I know Gonzaga went on to lose in the championship game, but Gonzaga was clearly one of the two best teams. And on that day, UCLA was every bit as good as they were.
Mhm.
Well, about half an hour ago or so, we recorded our Big Ten preview show. When we talked about Rutgers, I said that one of my problems with them was what we lost, what my Scarlet Knights lost, which was Miles Johnson, who we just discussed is going to UCLA, and Jacob Young, who Titel is on his way to Oregon this season in a team that that Matt already mentioned as being up there at the top of this conference. More in a rebuilding though, as opposed to bringing everybody back, or reloading, maybe I should call it.
You should. I think Young is going to be a big piece of that puzzle. They bring back Will Richardson and Eric Williams, a couple of solid seniors. Quincy Greer comes over from Syracuse, Davion Harmon from Oklahoma. A lot of nice pieces. Not sure if Dana Altman can get it all together in one season, but the man has won over 650 games. So my gut says yes. Interesting schedule. They got the 3 games in the Maui Invitational, the defending champs in Baylor and BYU early. So they will be tested early and often. So I think they'll be ready for Pac-12 play.
Yeah, and Matt, we've kind of seen that from Dana Altman teams. Maybe they stumble a little bit early, but they just get better and better as the season goes on.
Exactly. They might go in, stumble, and hey, go into the NCAA tournament like a 6, 7, 8 seed, and then go knock out the higher seed because they're really talented. It took a little while to mesh. My wild cards, the kid I think he really came on at the end of last year, Frank Kepnang, who even though Anfale Dante is probably a little bit more hype name, was a little bit bigger recruit. Kepnang looked awesome. I think once he said again at the end of last year, and I think might beat him out to be the starting center.
David, crosstown from UCLA, you have Andy Enfield's USC squad that I've seen a little bit of love for here in the preseason. They were an Elite 8 team last year. Do you like USC this season?
I do. I don't know if I like them back to the Elite 8, but I think I like them into the field of 64. Andy Enfield, it seems like we say this every year. I don't know what else. It seems like one of the teams that is chronically underestimated year after year after year in the preseason is USC. I don't think they were ranked to start the year last year. I don't think anybody was particularly excited about them, and they went as far as they did. Now they did lose a lot of key pieces, so they are kind of are in a reset mode, so to speak. But no, I could see them. I think that I could easily see them inside the bubble.
Yeah, Rocco, you agree with that? You think that USC is just easily back in the tournament again this year?
I don't know if it's going to be easy. I've
Okay.
got them making it. I think there is going to be a step back. Last year was all about Evan Mobley.
Mhm.
And to Andy Enfield's credit, he went a direction we had never seen him do from his Gulf Coast days and he struggled at USC those first 4 or 5 years. We were talking about him on the hot seat a lot of those seasons. And last year, he really showed a really dynamic ability to go to a whole different style. I think they went from, and I talked to him about it last week, from like 120th in tempo to like 250th in tempo, just made everything a half court game, stacked the box. It was really hard to score on them. You saw how bad they blew out teams like Kansas and Oregon in the tournament, just embarrassed them. And it was all about Mobley and then fitting all the other pieces around. Now with just his brother left, Isaiah, who's also
You still got a Mobley on the team. Come on.
still got a Mobley, but it's not Evan. It's not Evan. And so that's not going to be the same. They're going to be a little more guard heavy, a little more wing heavy. But I give this coaching staff a lot of credit and the benefit of the doubt that they'll find a way based on what they did last year. They just don't have the pieces. I do like the future of the program. They keep bringing in 5 stars. I think they just got another commit last week. And so these guys, I don't think they're going anywhere, even though we thought Enfield might have been gone by now. So kudos to them.
John, we learned during the last podcast that you don't like first-year head coaches. You are an Arizona Wildcats alum, and you've got a first-year head coach. So what about your team? Do you not like them?
So I do like Tommy Lloyd. Do I think they're going to make the tournament? That's a separate question. So just so you know, this is a guy, he's literally spent 20 years in one job. It was a good job. He was an assistant to Mark Few at Gonzaga, and they won a gazillion games, not any 10-seed tournaments, came very close a couple times. And after Sean Miller's 12-year tenure has come to an end, we needed a change. I think it's a good hire. I think he can recruit. I think he can build a program. I don't think this is the year. The sophomore class, great. Azuolas Tubelis, Benedict Mathurin from Lithuania and Montreal, respectively. Love him. Unfortunately, we're the transfer portal. James Akinjo, Baylor. Jordan Brown, Louisiana. Terrell Brown Jr., some school called Washington. Jamal Baker, Fresno State. Ira Lee joining me in DC at GW. Even Jason Terry left for the G League. Like, you just can't lose all of those players and a coach and hope to contend in year number one, I don't think.
Matt, do you agree with him or because I look at the talent here, I like it. Okay.
I kind of like this Arizona roster.
I do too.
You mentioned I think see a ton of him because probably his eligibility, but Kirk Risa is back, and I think he's gonna be a great fit. He looks a lot like, especially the vintage, like Blake Stepp, Matt Santangelo type Gonzaga guards. With that, you return him. I think Christian Koloko, another one like the type of big guy Gonzaga started doing good with, especially in the earlier Gonzaga years. And word is he's actually really improved this offseason. And so that with those other sophomores, and also Paolo Larson from Utah, I think you got some nice pieces there. And the Pac-12 is not all that deep. So I think they do a little bit something out of conference and get to 11, 12 conference wins. They're in the tournament if they're not disqualified from it due to the whole Sean Miller scandal.
As of the moment, we're going to count them as if they're in. Yeah, we'll see what all that plays out. But Rocco, I love to go with you the teams that I can't quite figure out, and one of them in the Pac-12 here. McKinley Wright is gone, yet I'm seeing people loving this Colorado team, and I'm trying to figure it out. I guess that their pieces are there, but do you think that they're as good as the love that they seem to be getting preseason?
Yeah, the jury's out. In my opinion, it all comes down to Jabari Walker. I think he's an outstanding possible big jump from freshman to sophomore. I don't think there's any question he's going to make a jump. It's just how high, right? And, from what I think the people high on Colorado think he can just become all Pac-12 right out of the gate. Of course, he's Samari Walker's son. He's got the NBA genes. Evan Batty's an awesome glue guy, one of the best teammates you could ever ask for from anybody I've seen in the Pac-12 in the last 10 years. Eli Parquet is a nice piece. Talked to him last week. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting pieces. There's a lot of freshmen coming into. I think you'll see guys like KJ Simpson handle the ball a lot out of the freshman class. But it really does come down to Jabari being that bucket getter that you saw McKinley Wright do for so many years, right? And if he can do that, they'll be right in the mix for a bid. We all know who has the number one home court advantage in America. It's the Colorado Buffaloes. Look at Ken Palm. He's got the rankings. So they're going to win at home. How many wins away from home can they get? That's also going to be a key ingredient, as always.
Right. David, one other team that was in the tournament last year, we got to discuss them. They were one of the craziest runs we've ever seen. The Oregon State Beavers. What do you think about them this year after going all the way from out at the beginning of the Pac-12 tournament, not even on anybody's radar, to the Elite Eight last year?
It was phenomenal. You almost kind of wish they could have kept going, but it really was incredible. And when you look at what they have this year, that 3 starters are back, I definitely think they'll be improved. But if you ask me, where do they fall on the spectrum of not being inside the bubble and being Elite Eight good? It's somewhere in between, but it's probably closer to the not being inside the bubble than it is to being in the Elite Eight. I do think they're good enough to where they could contend for a spot in the field, but I don't really see them in the top half of the bracket or as a protected seed. But Oregon State, when you look at their history, so to speak, they're to get into the field at all is kind of a big deal for them.
John, I think we've talked about a majority of the teams that people are looking at as tournament teams, although there's one that I kind of like, maybe as a bit of a dark horse, and it comes from Rocco State, but not his school. How about Washington State and the job that Kyle Smith has done there, taking a team out of nowhere and maybe getting us near the bubble this season?
I like Kyle Smith, former CIT champ at an Ivy League school of Columbia. I don't think he's got enough. The backcourt's solid. Michael Flowers, Tyrell Roberts, Noah Williams. I don't think he's got enough in the front court to bang with the big guys in the conference like Cody Riley, and for Matt's benefit, the amazing Christian Koloko.
Well, Matt, I mean, I think Noah Williams, especially, I think that could be the key to this team if there's a chance for them to, do something surprising this season.
Well, you have a guy who's consistent scorer in the Pac-12, and we have the other guys that John mentioned are going up a level, and that's always an iffy proposition is, hey, you were a star at the mid-major level, but coming up to a power conference level here to see how you're going to do. Yeah, if he's a guy who can take them on their back, and again, I think outside the top 4 or so in the Pac-12, you have an opportunity to rise. Like and do that, and hey, do some good work out of conference, and then get to 11 or so wins, and then who knows? Maybe if you really need a 5th Pac-12 team in the tournament, and the selection committee's often found a way to get a 4th or 5th team in, that might be Wazoo.
Rocco, you may not want to talk to me now since I went to Washington State before Washington, our podcast, but what about your school? What about the Huskies?
Yeah, no, I figure everybody's picking Washington State higher this year. No offense taken.
Yeah.
So the Huskies, obviously after the miserable last season, cleaned house. A lot of the guys contributing last year are gone. The Dogs do bring back Jamal Bay and Nate Roberts, but this team was rebuilt through the connections of what we call the 206, the area code up there. And all these kids have Seattle roots. They now have a lot of college experience. So PJ Fuller and Emmett Matthews come in from the Big 12. Obviously, John already mentioned Terrell Brown Jr. from Arizona, and Dejon Davis, another in-conference transfer from Stanford, who's been pretty close to all Pac-12 in the past. So I think the team is going to hinge a lot on those 2 guards, Brown and Davis, to do the majority of the heavy lifting scoring-wise. Matthews should hopefully bring some better defense. That's the key to this team. There's a very, very intriguing prospect, one of the best JUCO guys out there. Emmett Matthews actually helped land this kid, Langston Wilson. He'll be an incoming junior. The thing about him, his head goes over the rim when he jumps. He's just a freak athlete. How many minutes can they get out of him each night? That will be a big deal. So I think really, like, there is a lot of hope based on the amount of experience and the fact that these kids have played together since high school, AAU ball. A lot of them go way back. So we'll see. That's what they're banking on.
David, we have a few teams we have not discussed yet. One of them is coached by Bobby Hurley, who's going to have several explosions on the sideline. We know this season. But what do you like anything about Arizona State this season?
Yes, I really like that Bobby Hurley is going to have several explosions on the sideline this season. I mean that's what I'm looking forward to the most. They were 7-10 in the league last year, which I not very good. I don't see them doing a whole lot better than that this year. They've kind of digressed a little bit over the last 3 or 4 years, and you just kind of wonder if that's going to continue. For a while, it looked like he really had it going there. There's a lot of things you want to like about this team. The curtain of distraction is there, but that and his explosions. Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Am I expecting them to do anything of significance as far as wins or postseasons? Not really.
Yeah, John. I think your Arizona team will be better than Arizona State. Although Marcus Bagley I think is going to be a pretty good player for them. That might be all they have. But let me ask you another question here. Well, we got 3 other teams we haven't discussed yet. Let me throw all 3 of them at you. That's who you want to talk about: Stanford, Utah, or Cal.
I will do Utah only because I think the other 2 are barely worthy of mention. Coach Craig Smith, I also hate first-year coaches. So Coach Craig Smith comes over from Utah State and South Dakota, a longtime assistant to Tim Miles at not 1, not 2, but 3 different schools. So David loves him. He's got Booth Gatch, one of the many, many Minnesota transfers, as we learned from our Big Ten show. David Jenkins Jr. comes over from UNLV. Marco Anthony from some school called Virginia. He's already got a ring from winning one in 2019. I don't think they're going to do anything, but I think that I really like Craig Smith, as I really like Tommy Lloyd. So just because I hate first-year coaches in their first year does not mean I hate them long-term, and this guy knows how to coach.
Yeah, I actually think he's a real good hire here, but I agree with you on that. Matt, speaking about schools that are going to have new head coaches next year, Stanford, we're in the Jared Haas farewell tour here this season.
Yeah. And put this way, unless Harrison Ingram is finally one of these 5-star kids that actually saves the program and isn't done what happened with Zaire Williams, where he comes in with the hype, and then we're here at the NBA draft day and watching, explaining away why he was awful at Stanford. That you're going to need something like that to save his job, and boy, I wouldn't be holding my breath here if I were the Stanford AD, if I were Stanford fans. Heck, if I were the Haas family, I'm not sure if I'm holding my breath that he's the coach next year.
Yeah. Rocco, we got one other team we have not discussed it more with you. Maybe a very brief mention is Cal. They got a lot back, but when you bring a lot of players back from a team that stunk, you have a lot of players from a team that stinks, right?
Yeah, I think that's generally the case here. I don't think the three freshmen coming in are going to be able to make a big enough splash to shake it up. I do think Jordan Shepard coming from Charlotte should help. He was a 12 points per game guy, 3.5 boards. So that should help the nucleus. I do get it that they're older, experienced. That might get them some wins. This Cal team over the last couple of years, they've knocked some teams off at home. They had that great buzzer beater to beat San Francisco last year. So anyway, I think they'll knock a couple teams off. I don't think they're going to be like Minnesota bad or anything, but I do think they're you have to pick them 12th. But I think it's a testament to, I actually do think the Pac-12 is really deep this year. As long as teams like Washington and Stanford and Utah don't completely fall apart. I don't think Utah will, but you get it. I think it can be deep because these rosters are old for the most part, all of them.
I'll tell you what, that goes, you might have just led right into the next question. Let me start with you. I want to run through each of you and ask you, who's going to win the Pac-12?
Oh, wait, I got a quick question for Rocco.
Okay, go ahead then.
Okay, and you can chime in on this too. Big West Conference, where does Cal finish?
I actually would probably pick them maybe third or fourth.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I was going to say fifth. So yeah, that's pretty close.
Where's going to run through each one for your Pac-12 champion? How many bids out of this conference? Any other final thoughts you may have on the conference? And Rocco, since you brought it up, the depth of the Pac-12, let me start with you because you're obviously putting 8 or 9 teams in, right?
No, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
Definitely not doing that. So I do give UCLA the nod. I think they have the chops to possibly win it all. I could see them tying for first with Oregon. Just depends how fast Oregon catches up to speed. But I do think, as always with Altman, they're going to be extremely tough by March. And so there's your top 2. And I will go with Tytel's Wildcats in third place. So the reason for that, Benedict Mathurin, I was blown away by his performance in the FIBA U19 tournament for Canada. He put up 32 against Serbia. He had almost a perfect shooting night. Those are meaningful quality opportunities. He was clearly Canada's best player. And these days, Canada has almost as strong of a team as the US. So I think he's ready to take off to the next level. And like Matt said earlier, like I do think Arizona's got a lot of great pieces around him and an amazing offensive system that they're going to get the hang of under Lloyd by January, I think. So then the fourth team, and this is a little bit of a sleeper pick, and it's mainly because they're acquiring one of my favorite players from the mid-major ranks, the MAC Player of the Year. Mo Jackson's going to join Arizona State this year, and he's, I think, one of the best closers in college. One of the best closers in college basketball. And I think you get the ball in that guy's hands in a close game. And we all know the Pac-12, a lot of these games come down to the last few minutes. Mo Jackson's the guy you want with that ball in your hand. And you got Marcus Bagley, some other pieces. Let's see if Hurley can manage that or if he screws it up. But I do like Arizona State for that reason. And then my last team I already mentioned is USC. So 5 bids.
So you don't have Colorado win then?
No Colorado and no Oregon State, no Washington State.
Really? But Arizona State, that's a shocker. Any other thoughts on the Pac-12 before I move on?
I think I've said a lot, but
you said enough. All right, you're out of here.
Oh yeah, here's a final thought. I have a Pac-12 water bottle. Hopefully it's a good year.
All right. Matt, how about you?
All right, so I got UCLA winning also. I got 4 bids. Yeah, UCLA, USC, Arizona, Oregon. And the one I vote for as well, UCLA and especially Johnny Juzang will have the hype for Player of the Year. I think Will Richardson in Oregon gives him a strong run for that.
I've actually got 5 bids in this conference. I do have UCLA winning, and I've got Oregon, Arizona in. That was my last one in. Actually, I have Colorado and USC both above them. Those are my 5 teams. I've looked long and hard at both Washington State and Oregon State. I did not look at Arizona State very seriously at all, but Rocco's going to prove us all wrong. Titel, what about you?
All right, so I feel pressured to put Arizona in, but frankly, I don't deal well with pressure, so I'm not putting them in.
Don't have
I
to.
think I'm setting the over/under at 4.5, and I'm taking the under. UCLA and Oregon, I think, are near slam dunks. USC, I hope you people all understand, like, Evan Mobley was not just a great player. He was like one of the best seasons in USC history.
Oh, yeah.
That being said, there's still another Mobley, and they still have a ton of other guys, so I think they make it. I'm really not sold on Colorado. Like, McKinley Wright was the heart and soul of that team. Love Evan Batty, just not sold. I don't know that I see a strong fourth contender in this whole league, to be honest. So I am only going to put 3 in, which seems impossible, and hopefully Arizona will prove me wrong. I think UCLA wins it, not handily, because the Ducks like always seem to win in March, but this junior class of Jaquez and Juzang and Campbell is the best in the nation in one man's humble opinion. However, so you would think that a lot of skills can or can't be taught based on, are they natural or is it something that somebody can learn how to do? And I thought free throw shooting was something you could teach somebody how to do. However, I'm talking about Andy Enfield. He's not just a great free throw shooter. When he finished up at Johns Hopkins, he was the all-time NCAA leader, 92.5% from the foul line. How do you see it USC do last year? Not even 65%. Why can't he teach this team to make free throws, Chad?
I don't know, but you know what? Rutgers even outshot USC in free throws last year at 66%. So, David, you want to finish up with your picks and any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think UCLA is, like everybody else, way ahead of everybody else. I think Oregon is good enough to where they're better than everybody else, so they might be able to keep pace throughout the season, but I don't see them, catching or beating UCLA, but definitely in the tournament. I do like this USC team. I think they'll go, and I've got a 4th team, and it's Arizona. It wouldn't shock me because I think that there's enough decent teams from Colorado. I actually do like Wazoo. I was kind of surprised that you all were that big on them. They've gotten substantially better over the last 3 years. And if they can
I think I was the only one fighting for them, David, actually. But
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But no, they have
getting a lot.
gotten noticeably better each year. It's been incremental improvement. I think they're going to be even better this year. Are they going to be so much better that they're on the bubble or inside of it? Probably not, but this program is going in the right direction, and they will be fun to watch. And so could Wazoo, Oregon State, Colorado, and could the 3 of them push one of the teams forward to emerge as a 5th team? Maybe, but I'm still going to stick with 4.
Any other thoughts on the conference?
It's just amazing, the gap between the top and the bottom here, probably as big as it is in any other league. Well, no, not the Big Ten, because Minnesota's at the bottom.
I guess on that note, I do want to thank everybody for joining us. If you want to catch any of our other season previews, just click the season preview tab up there. The interviews we've had, the interviews Titel has been posting, the podcast we've been doing with selection committee members and with David Warlock are all up there.
Media day recaps.
Media day recaps are up there. I don't know what else is up there. Just click the button and see what's there. I don't really care. Yeah. But I don't know. On behalf of David Griggs and John Titel here, Rocco Miller, you can also check him out at bracketeer.org. Matt Zakowski, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again real soon.